Hey everybody, my name is Jenna and I am a musician. I'm a radio DJ, I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a visual artist, and I was also an English and communications professor for a number of years. So I just want to thank you guys for inviting me to share with you and to be able to answer all of your questions. And Jenny, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to answer your questions, and I got them all here. I'm going to try and answer as many of them as I can for you guys, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so one of the questions that you guys gave me was, why did I decide to get in radio? Why do I want to be in radio? Well, the first thing I can say after being in radio, and it's coming up on 10 years, in April it'll be 10 years that I've been in radio broadcasting, is it's a fun job. It's so fun. It is. It's a fun job. I mean, it's work. No, don't get me wrong. There's work involved, but it truly is a fun job. And I remember being probably about 11 or 12 years old, and I was making what's called mixtapes. So when you guys think about it, whether it's Spotify or Pandora or YouTube, all of the different playlists that are out there now, that's what I was doing, except I was sitting there with a cassette player recording music off the radio and creating playlists to listen to. And so that morphed into not just a love of music, but also a love of learning all about the bands and learning all about the musicians, and maybe knowing their birthdays and knowing when they're gonna have concerts and all different kinds of things. And so when I was finishing up my bachelor's degree at UWGB, there was a chance to do an internship at a radio station in Green Bay, and it was for a country station called WPCK. The overall radio broadcasting company was Cumulus Broadcasting, and they have 5 different stations in the Green Bay area that play a variety of different music. And so I did this internship for about a year with them. Totally fell in love with doing radio and everything like that, because we don't just play the music and talk about the music and talk about the bands and the musicians, but we also do events. And those events a lot of times are very cheerful, music-led events. We're giving out prizes. It's all around a really fun interactive job that I love to do. Now, and again, I'll say there is work involved. There's work involved. It's not just, I go there and I just spin music. I mean, I'm recording music, or I'm editing music, or I'm recording, ads and all different kinds of things. So there is definitely work involved, but what I love about it is how fun it is. Okay, so there's 2 other questions that you guys had for me with radio that I want to address in one answer, because I think they're very related. So the first one is, what radio station do I work for, and what kind of music do I play? So one of the things that I do want to go back to is I did that internship. I did an internship with Cumulus Broadcasting in Green Bay with WPCK, which was a country station at the time. And right after getting done with that, Cumulus Broadcasting, they didn't have any jobs available. And so it was about a year before a job came available on 103.1 WOGB. And I applied for it, I interviewed, and I got the gig. I got the gig to do this part-time radio show, to kind of have my little own show. And I got trained by an incredible DJ and boss. His name was Dan Marcus, and he's still out doing radio at Cumulus in Oshkosh, and gave me all kinds of tips and tricks. And so 103.1 was the very first station that I started on, and they play what's considered oldies, so 70s and 80s kind of music. You might hear the Go-Go's, you might hear the Beach Boys, you might hear Heart on that radio station, and so many other great, talented bands and everything from the 70s and 80s. But then I was also able to get on 98.5 Star 98, and they play what's called Top 40 Contemporary Music. So when you think about who might be on the radio station there now, probably Miley Cyrus, might hear Niall Horan on there, One Direction, those sorts of bands you're going to hear on 98.5 Star 98. And I was at Cumulus Broadcasting for several years. In fact, for 7 years, I was Cumulus Broadcasting on a variety of different stations, everything from the oldies to top 40 to country to alternative, and all of it was still really fun gigs to do. And so now what I do is I have an indie radio station called Fox Cities Indie Radio, and it's online. And what we do is we play Wisconsin's best and beyond. And what that means is I'm playing indie music from Wisconsin, indie music from across the United States, indie music from across the world. So I might be playing some rap music from Wisconsin. I might be playing some country music from, say, Georgia. I might be playing some hip hop from Sweden. I mean, it's just so cool, all the different genres of music that I can play. And one of the things I do want to stress is that indie music isn't a certain specific genre of music. So, you know, you hear rap and you hear rock and heavy metal and country rock and instrumental music. So indie music is all of the genres. What makes it indie music, though, is it is, number one, it's created, produced, recorded all by that artist or that band. So they pay for everything. And the second thing is that they're not attached to a big record company. So they don't have a record deal with any kind of the big record companies in the United States. So that's what makes it indie music. It's not the genre. So it's not that it's rock or that it's rap or anything. It just has to do with how the music is created and promoted. And it is usually done by that specific artist. They're paying for everything. They're getting it recorded. They're doing all the work. Okay, so another question you guys had about radio is, do I work with anybody? When it comes to my indie radio station, no, it's just me doing everything. So I'm uploading music, editing music, working on the schedule, creating shows, uploading files and stuff like that. So I'm basically doing everything on my own. But when I worked at Cumulus Broadcasting, I worked with a team of people that a lot of them I still consider really great friends today. And I think that's probably one of the key things about radio that a lot of times people don't realize is that we're not just a DJ sitting in the studio, spinning tunes, creating our shows by ourselves. Many times we are working as a team together to make that radio station be phenomenal. And we're also working together a lot of times at events that we're going to. So sometimes it might be two DJs going out there to an event and we're setting up the equipment and we're talking to people and we're hosting that event. Or I might be the DJ that is back in the studio while one of my DJ buddies, DJ co-workers is out at a live event, and I have to make sure that, you know, his or her live feed goes out on the air to all of the people listening to that radio station at that time. So it truly is a type of teamwork. And even when it comes to events, a lot of times people, they think that radio is simply the DJ, and it's not. We have promotions teams, we have marketing, we have sales, we have scheduling. So we have managers that do all the scheduling. So truly, radio is very much a teamwork type of thing. And like I told you guys, I met and worked with so many incredible people when I was at Cumulus that there are a lot of them that I still consider great friends. One more question I think you guys had for me was, you know, what do I talk about on the radio? What favorite topics do I have for the radio? So one of the key things about being a radio DJ is making sure that you're connecting with your audience. If that's one thing that I was taught over the years, is the importance of making that connection. And so what you're going to talk about is you're going to talk about local events. You're going to talk about maybe there's a family event going on at, say, Bay Beach coming up this weekend. So you're going to talk about that. Or you're going to talk about a concert with one of the bands that you play on the radio station. Other things that you'll talk about too is you'll talk about pop culture things. So talking about maybe different favorite TV shows or favorite things that people like to do. You might even talk about statistics, like how many people go shopping at Christmas time, those sorts of things. So things that are very relatable to your audience. And something else that we talk about too, which is one of my favorites, is music history. I love researching and looking up the history of music, of bands and artists and everything. And in fact, on Fox Cities Indie Radio, that's one of the things that I do is I do This Day in Music. And And so, for example, I might be going back to March 19th, 1980, what was going on then? Or March 19th, 1965. So realize that one of the things that's truly important about being a radio DJ is not just spinning those tunes, not just having the knowledge about the music, but truly being able to connect with your audience and talk about things that are very relatable. Oh, you guys asked me this question and I'm gonna answer it. Do you always, or have you always, liked talking in front of people? And I have to say, for the most part, yes. There was one time I remember I was 14 years old. I was in English class and we were doing the public speaking part of that English class, and that absolutely terrified me. It was so interesting because I, a lot of times, love talking in front of people, whether I'm talking, on a stage or, presenting, because I was a professor for about 10 years. I did teaching. So whether I was teaching or whether I've been on a stage, I do love being in front of people. But there was one time when I was 14 and man, it scared me to death. But I have to say, overall, I do. I love talking in front of people and audiences and teaching and mentoring people and presenting on different topics. Okay, so you guys know that I do a variety of things, from being an English and communications professor for a number of years, teaching at the college level, to being in radio as a radio DJ. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a musician, and I'm a writer. And one of your questions was, when did you become an author? How did you become an author? When did this start? Type of question. And that's got multiple layers to it. And so I'm going to try and break it down for you. So I very, very much started writing when I was quite young, and I was 9 years old when I wrote my first story. And I didn't just write one story, I wrote two. And it was inspired by an assignment that one of my teachers did. And I didn't just write one story, I wrote two stories. And what I so loved about this teacher was she allowed me to read both of them to the class. Such an inspiration for someone who was, just starting out writing. And then when I became a freshman in high school, so around 14, 15 years old, I was in English class, and the English teacher had us do a poetry section for that year, and it was to write poetry. And all of a sudden, that opened up another window of writing for me that, holy moly. So not only have I been writing stories since I was in elementary school, but I've been writing poetry since I was in high school. And then I went back to school in my 30s to get my college degrees, and I started writing plays and I started writing screenplays. And something else that I've been writing over the years is song lyrics too. So being a musician, it all kind of ties together. I wrote my first song lyrics when I was 9 years old as well. So I have been involved with the writing process since I was a little kid. And I gotta tell you though, this is something that I think is so important for people to understand, is that you are never too old to do something new. You're never too old to get into writing. You're never too old to get into and learn a new skill. For example, even though I started doing fiction writing when I was in elementary school, and I started doing poetry writing when I was in high school, and I started doing songwriting when I was in elementary school too, specifically lyrics, I didn't start doing playwriting or screenwriting until I was in my 30s. And so it's really important. That's one of the things that I really want you to understand and really kind of take with you, is that as we get older, we start doing new things and we still learn new things. And it's so awesome to be able to continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to do things no matter what age we are. So I really want to leave you guys with that. Yes, I started writing very young. However, there's so many things that I've done in my 30s and in my 40s and in my 50s. And you're going to do the same thing. So you guys had a couple more questions about being a writer. One of them was, what do I write? what things do I like to write? The other one was, am I a published author? And the third one is, do I have any favorites? Favorite books or things that I've written. So I love to write in a variety of areas, fiction, poetry, plays, so playwriting, things for theater, screenwriting, so scripts for film. I also love writing songs and song lyrics, and music journalism. I love digging into music and music topics and writing about music, but I also love writing about gardening and current topics and stuff like that. So I definitely write in a variety of areas, and one isn't more of a favorite than the other. I truly do love writing in all of those different areas. Am I a published author was the other question, and yes, I am. In fact, as of this month, as of March 2024, I will be published in 19 different publications over the course of my writing career. And it's so cool, you guys, to look back on that and be like, wow, I really am a working writer. I am a writer that has been published, and I'm looking forward to what's coming in the future and future publications and things that I'm going to be doing. The final question that you guys had was, do I have any favorite things that I've written? I think out of the things that I've published, I think I love all of them. I mean, I do have maybe some favorite stories or favorite poems and stuff like that. But overall, what I've been able to publish, I really do like what I've published. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things that I've created and written where I'm like, well, this isn't as good as it could be. That just needs to sit and wait until I have more time to look at it again and decide if I want to submit it somewhere for publication or get it published. And there's also times where I've looked back on things maybe I wrote 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and I'm like, ooh, I can tweak this and make it better. So from the aspect of having favorite things, I think there are some poems and stories and stuff that I like better than others, but overall, I'm really happy with everything that I've published and put out there. I think one of the things that kind of ties it all together for me personality-wise, from music to filmmaking to radio broadcasting to visual art to writing, is being a teacher, being a mentor. I was a professor of writing and communications for 10 years at the college level, and I even went into corporations in our area and local businesses and taught people writing and communication skills. It's definitely a core part of my personality and has been a huge part of my career, being able to pass on what I know in communications and writing and everything like that. And I think it's important, no matter what field that we work in, that we have those people, those key people in those fields that are able to pass on the information, because that's how you pass on art. That's how you pass on communication skills. That's how you pass on all of those skills, is by having those people who are willing to be teachers and mentors. And so that is definitely a part of my personality and part of who I am. And I love being able to teach people and mentor them. And I look forward to still being able to do it. I might not be doing it at the college level anymore or in a school, but I'm definitely continuing that part of who I am and teaching and mentoring people in writing and communications and the skills that I have. I want to just say again, thank you so much for having me be a part of this. Thank you so much for sending me your questions and asking me all about writing and filmmaking and radio broadcasting. I so loved being able to answer them. And thank you, Jenny, for asking me to be a part of it. I loved so being a part of this.